Hi, friends.
Hello, friends.
Welcome back. Another episode of Get Checkered. We are part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. And today we get to give a shout out to another podcast on the network. Bollywood is for lovers. So Matt Bowes and Aaron Fraser explored the world of Hindi cinema through the lens of two Canadian cinephiles. So head to albertapodcastnetwork.com to learn more. So, life updates. Hey, Shani, haven't talked to you in a week. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just overworked, trying to figure out how to balance my life a little bit better. But yeah, the weather here's been crazy. So for those who don't know, Caitlyn's in obviously British Columbia right now. I'm in Alberta. Alberta's notorious for just ridiculous winters, and I don't know what's going on, but it's been like plus 14, plus 15 mid-February. Like kind of weird, right? Yeah.
That's nice, though. Although not good for skiing.
Yeah, it's not good for skiing. And I'm hoping that things are still snowy enough because, like I said, my brother and I are taking adult ski lessons come March. And right now I'm like, there might not be enough snow on the ground for us to even do that. God. But how are things with you? How's school?
It's okay. It's literally like 3 courses, and I'm like, it's busy enough. I never thought I would be saying that because undergrad is you take like what 5, 6, even 7 courses.
Yeah.
But this is just like I think it's all the papers, all the writings, all the group presentations. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just a lot. But yeah, this week was pretty heavy, but I'm glad it's over. Very happy it's over. Celebrated. We went out last night. So
where'd you go?
We started, there's a place called Cascade Room. So it's down, what's it called? South Main or something in Vancouver. It was actually pretty good. Had the mulled wine, February having like a holiday.
You gotta have mulled wine. Yeah.
I love my warm drinks, okay? And then we headed over. We were trying to find, so my one beef, not one, I have several beefs with Vancouver, but one of them is people will like, there's lineups for everything on Friday and Saturday nights. Like
really?
What I'm starting to realize is like you need a reservation to get into a place. And like if you think about leaving that place and wanting to find another place, you're going to be waiting outside because they're all full. And I'm like, I don't want to wait outside. I was literally in a dress last night. Can we not be doing this? So we end up like finding a place without a lineup. It was an Irish bar. It was fun. We are not young anymore, and we ended up having a whole bunch of shots. And I'm like, I am unwell. Quite unwell. There was Shanika, have you ever heard of a pickleback?
I've heard of a pickleback. I've never had a pickleback though.
It was bad.
Why would you?
They wanted to do it. And I'm like, this is a terrifying concept and like an even worse reality. Oh, but anyways, now I've had a pickleback. And for those who don't know, it's a shot of whiskey or something. And you follow it with the shot of
pickle juice. Yeah. No.
Who comes up with this stuff?
People that like to torture themselves.
Wild, but here we are.
Have you been to the Diamond yet? Like the cocktail bar?
Yeah. I went last weekend.
Did you see any of the Riverdale cast?
No. Do they go there?
They go there often. Like I've spotted them there. Our friends Adam went and spotted them there. So when I went, I was actually by myself, and I was like, oh, like I'm probably not going to see them, whatever. And he was like, no, you probably will. And then sure enough, you see KJ and one of the Sprouse brothers just sitting at a table. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Cocktails are also great there, by the way.
They are.
And it's
very good.
Nice to, I don't know. I love sitting alone at places and at the bar because you can kind of like people watch. I don't know. You get really good service. It was great. Even though I was by myself, I enjoyed it.
Very good.
I also went out on Friday, and that was the first time in a long time.
Where did you go?
So my coworkers, actually it was like an ex-coworker who like kind of got everyone together, and we went to Cold Garden. So it is a place here in Calgary where you can bring your puppy, very like industrial in terms of they don't like have a carpet or anything. Like it's very much like a garage that they converted into a bar, I feel like in some ways. But yeah, you can bring your dog. They don't serve you food, but you can order food to Cold Garden. And yeah, I had several cake face beers. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I know that
Cake
one.
faces, and then swaps to some iced teas. It was just nice to chat with my coworkers. And it was so fun.
And did you
So
mention, for the podcast listeners who may not know, Cold Garden is dog friendly. Like
yeah,
it's
super dog friendly.
amazing. You
It
bring a
was
dog, you can pet
overwhelming.
dogs. Oh, it's amazing.
There were so many dogs though, because for those who don't know, we don't have the REP, which is like this
Oh
code
yeah, they
to
took that off.
yeah. So that's the thing. So that night I was like totally fine. And then I came home and I was like, oh my gosh, we would have been around people who like aren't vaccinated.
Yeah,
Anyways,
because like Alberta is it Alberta and Saskatchewan are now the first ones to take off their
yeah.
exemption, like
So
restriction.
yeah. So I'm like, okay. That gave me a little bit of nerves like after the fact, but you still have to wear masks if you're like walking around and stuff like that. But because of that, just the amount of people there was way more people than normal, and a lot of people that brought a lot of dogs. So there was a lot of dogs. I saw a Great Dane. As you all know, Great Danes are like larger than most people, it feels like sometimes. All the way to this like little Pomsky that looked like an Ewok. That was like maybe, I don't know, like the size of my like wireless keyboard, like perched up onto their like dad's chest hanging out. So it's a really great space. If you're in Alberta, Calgary, you should head there. But definitely Saturday, I was like, it wasn't that I wasn't well because I didn't do shots, Caitlin, but I was like, I was not doing great. It could have gone better, is what I'm saying. I should have drank a little bit more water. I think that would have helped.
You think we would have learned through our years? But you know what I did? I put water beside my bed last night. I was very impressed with myself.
See, you're looking out for you. Drunk you looking out for sober you. That's all you can hope for.
I know. I thanked that girl. She was
It's the shots though, I swear,
oh.
that get me. Like I'm like, I can do.
There's another shot I've never tried before. Have you had a ping pong?
No, I've never had a ping pong.
I've
never even heard of a ping pong.
What's in it? Me neither. But it tasted like banana, like medicine that we had as children.
Like amoxicillin?
Kind of, yeah. Like that was the taste of it. I was like, this is not terrible, but like it's very banana-y.
That's so funny. I just Google search ping pong shot thinking that
no.
Yeah, no, and it's just giving me like table tennis.
Solid. No.
So not helpful. Yeah, it's what is this? I'm like trying to find it.
I don't know. If I find it, I'll let you know. But
yeah, and then okay, whatever. But
something I do want to bring up on this episode, though, a bit of a life update. So, I had a beef. Courtney had a beef with a guy on TikTok, and he really pissed me off. Okay.
Yeah.
Like Courtney put up this really good video, and it was like the major bag alert, which I had to look up what major bag alert really was because I'm old. And it was very applicable. It's like the FIA when they fined Max 50,000 euros for touching Lewis's car in Parc Ferme.
Yeah.
That was back after Sao Paulo quali, I think. And this guy, I almost wanted to like at Drew Afuelo. Do you know her?
Yeah, I wanted
to add her to be like, okay, this guy, help me with him. But we handled him on our own, okay? He was like, okay, like learn the rules. He wasn't allowed to touch. And we're like, well, no shit. Like we know the rules, sir. But like, when has any other driver been fined 50,000?
Yeah.
And he's like, no one ever touches after quality. They only ever touch after the race. I'm like, hey, sir, if you're gonna look it up, you're not allowed to touch after quality. You're not allowed to touch after the race either.
Yeah.
And B, I sent him a direct link to a video of Seb touching a car, Lewis Hamilton's car, after like the Australian GP in 2017 after quali. And he's like, okay, sure, but like this was a big deal. And I'm like I'm not arguing that point, sir, but the point of the video. Okay, please, major bag regular. They saw it as an opportunity. They needed to make an example of it. Yes, because it was
Yeah,
a big
of course. Yeah.
but they also get 50,000 euros out of it. Boom. And so like we made our point. We absolutely just we won the argument.
You buried this man.
Yes, we did. And then I woke up the next morning and all the comments were deleted. So either I don't know who would have done it, but maybe he deleted all the comments because he didn't want to be embarrassed. And I'm like, yeah, because you got fucking told off, sir. Do not come around our podcast area and try to be rude to us. We will come for you. We were at the mini Drew with. I actually should have just tagged her.
I love Drew so much. Like as soon as she pops off, that like first little bit where she's pausing and has that evil smile on her face, and then
she does the laugh. She does the laugh.
And then it's like followed by the laugh. I'm like, oh, this man's about to die. Like it's over. Yeah, people don't, especially when it's okay to be wrong, you know, like if you're like, oh shit, you don't need to double down if someone's like providing evidence.
Don't ever need to be rude.
Yeah.
Like just don't. We don't need that kind of energy around us. Exactly. So just leave. Don't be around us. Just don't interact with us.
So if you are not following us on TikTok, go follow us and get Checkered. It's our handle, because this also for us, like this is like Courtney's like first few videos that she's ever put up too. So we were kind of like, hey, dude, fuck off, because you know
she's killing it. I'm like grateful for her.
I know, because you and I we created tons of TikToks, retired. They take a lot of time. They really, really do. So if you ever see like the reels or the TikToks, trust me, it takes a lot more time than you think.
Right.
It is.
Maybe it's because we're old. We don't know the tricks, but that's fine. Anyways, yeah. So had a big beef with him, and you guys will never see the argument because we won and he deleted the comments, but we did win. We told this guy off. We know the rules. Thank you, sir. And we made a very applicable video for the situation. Anyways, that's the end of that story. But yeah, I think that's pretty good for life updates. Want to get into some? There was quite a few things that happened this week with F1. So we're going to get into like updates / news, and then we're actually going to talk about some of the car reveals that happened.
Yeah.
So we saw a headline and we saw the posts that Caitlyn Jenner is now a CEO of a team in the W Series, and the team is called Jenner Racing. Just a big, bold, what do we think?
This is so interesting. Okay. I don't know how to feel about this. So I think it's good, obviously, that Caitlyn's providing a space for like more people to get into the sport, because that's a tough thing. But the thing is, I will say this, I don't think, and this is coming from a person that doesn't know Caitlyn Jenner personally, I will say that I don't think Caitlyn Jenner is a good person. And I don't think they're a good person she's not a good person for like her own community. The stuff that when she was running or trying to run for governor, I think it was governor, she was advocating for things that would like harm trans folks. And I was like, I just don't understand what's happening here. There's that whole like gay marriage thing that happened when she was on Ellen DeGeneres and said that she didn't really understand or like didn't believe why people wanted it. Like it was just like really bizarre things. And I understand that, you know, you learn, you grow, you can't hold everyone accountable to what they did a year ago or 2 ago or whatever. But Caitlyn has shown time and time again, not our Caitlyn Jenner has shown time and time again, just to not understand her privilege at all. And like, I just don't get it. I'm concerned, I guess, is what I'm saying, that it's just another powerful person at the end of the day, like getting more power. And that's not great.
Yep. No, it's definitely like,
Caitlyn has like some hot takes on the Kardashian Jenner.
Yeah, I personally like just the whole association, Jenner, Kardashian. I don't use this word ever, but I despise the Kardashians and their brand.
Yeah.
They've caused, like, as a brand, they've caused a lot of I think they are contributing a lot to mental health issues for a lot of people. And I hate that they're just like infiltrating everywhere, and all the memes are like, the double works hard, but Kris Jenner works harder. I'm like, yeah, she does. She's a mastermind, she's a genius, but I despise her.
No.
I don't know. So like, yeah, Caitlyn Jenner getting in to motorsport. I'm just like, is this like a launching pad? Everyone's free to do what they want to do, but personally, I think like Shanika was saying, like the privilege that they have to like just full up and coming like build a team, that takes
Yeah.
privilege in itself, and we understand it costs a lot of money to do these kind of things. They are bringing, I think, in a positive light, they should be bringing W series a bit more attention, right?
Mhm.
Which is never a bad thing, but I'm just like, anyone else, please, just anyone.
Right. That's sort of our thoughts on it. But I'm curious what other people think. So
Yeah, yeah, and
let
like
us know.
I get that like a lot of people don't like Kardashians, but they still respect them more than I do, and whatever, we're all entitled to our opinions. Anyways, we are on to the next thing.
God. So this is something that I actually didn't see, and I saw Caitlyn and Courtney like chatting in the group chat, and I was like, "What's going on?" But
Yeah, so
apparently, the TikTokers were at the Aston Martin launch. Like,
yeah,
what?
and it was one TikToker in particular. And if you guys follow like any of the F1 TikToks, like I bet you've seen this guy come up. I think his name's F1 Johnny. So like props to him. I think he literally only started doing TikToks, he said, like a year ago, and now he was literally invited to the Aston Martin car reveal launch. And I'm just like, how did you do that? I'm like very jealous. I'm very impressed, but I want that to be us, not him. Sorry. He can be there. Actually, like we can all get invites. Let's just make it a very inclusive thing.
Abundance. Like, we believe in abundance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I think I made this note. We'll talk about it maybe a little bit later. But whoever is doing, so now that Aston Martin, obviously they popped up last year, whoever is running their brand and marketing, it's just been really impressive for me, because I'm like, they have the right person, someone that's in TikTok, which is like touching a new generation, that's at the event. Lest us forget the Bond product placement. And I'm just like, they're really doing a good job and like embedding the brand everywhere. So I'm very impressed.
Also
Yeah.
on this point, this F1 Johnny, he literally was doing TikToks with Nico Hulkenberg. And I'm like, damn. Is it our turn? We could be there with Seb. Shannon could have a heyday with Seb.
You would love to talk to Seb.
I would too. Yeah. We would take his time. Be like,
Yeah.
Seb.
You would have so much to say about like everything that you're learning, especially through school. Like, come on.
I actually, so like this is a very side tangent, but and for those of you who don't know or whatever, I'm doing a master's, and it's half technical engineering and half like business leadership. And in one of my technical engineering courses, we're asked to do like a life cycle analysis of anything. Like he gave us some recommended topics, and they're all related to energy usage and like greenhouse gas emissions, which is literally the course. It's very applicable stuff. But I'm like impressed with our team. We're trying something new, and it's something that like ties into everyone. It ties into F1 too, because it's like we're going to be looking at emissions and recommendations for fast fashion.
Oh my God,
And
love
how
that.
impacts.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know someone like Lewis Hamilton, like he doesn't wear fast fashion. He wears luxury. And I bet you like the manufacturing processes are not the same. But like we're going to be looking into some of the stuff like even before that, like the fabric stuffs and all that part of the supply chain as well, and the disposal. And it's like, like Lewis Hamilton, well, all the F1 guys always have like new clothes, or like Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris have their own lines and like making their own clothes and stuff. And I'm like, fashion is so powerful. It's like how you can help like define your character, like show people your interests. And I really don't want to diss that. And I think it's very important that we can have that kind of expression. But there's a lot of problems with like
huge issues. Yeah, 100%.
And I like, we have to come up with a recommendation at the end of the paper. And I have a feeling it's going to be like, everyone just has too much stuff, right? And one of the numbers we're seeing is like people buy an average of 68 new pieces of clothing a year on average. And it's like, that is unnecessary. And then like, so Lewis Hamilton comes to every race with new clothes. And I'm like, you're so for like important issues, but this is an issue you're missing, I think, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of
And
people do.
so,
It's called like overconsumption, right?
oh, it's
It's huge.
terrible.
It's a huge issue. And you
And
see it
like,
with
you
like
don't need
the
to have a new
outfit
outfit
every
every
day.
race, every day to get photographed in it, because like you wore some, you can't be photographed wearing the same thing you wore a week ago. Yes, you can. If it's clean, that's fine.
It's
And
true, but I
so,
think what you're talking about, especially so I right now am consulting with a clothing brand actually. So it's been really interesting to see all their manufacturing's here, how they're dealing with fabrics and stuff like that. But one of the things that these drivers should consider, especially when they drop their own merch lines, where is your shit coming from? Like it's,
mhm.
if you want your, and I get it, like the Lando fans want to buy something from Quadrant, I get it. But then where is it coming from? And what are you feeding into inadvertently? Like, are they paying like even the bare minimum living wages? Is that a thing? Like,
Yeah,
those are
yeah.
questions that need to be asked too.
And like it's just the lack of accountability, I think.
Yeah,
Because it's like you can make all these new clothes and you don't think about what happens before. But what happens before is disgusting.
exactly. It's not,
And like McLaren comes out with the new colors for all their merch, like all the time, like dropping new colors,
yeah.
and people want to buy them, and I get it, they're cute. But like you don't need them, and they do not need to be making them. TBH. Yeah, that's the little side tangent. I don't
Yeah.
even know how we got here, but
Yeah, no, let us know what we're talking about Seb, and
yeah,
you're
yeah.
learning all this environmental stuff. Seb really cares about the environment and social issues, which is actually like a perfect kind of segue to talk about
Yeah, I
something
think
that
so. Yeah,
caught
good work.
my eye, and I caught it because of Seb. Okay, so the headline is F1 to move away from knee gesture ceremony in 2022, and this is via Motorsport. And I'm just going to read what what the article said, and then also what the CEO of F1 said. But so for those who don't know, since the start of 2020, F1 had set aside a specific time during the pre-race buildup. I'm sure we've all seen, for the drivers to take a knee or any other gesture that they wish. But this is changing, and they're not allowed to do it, but it's not going to be like regulated, I guess, in some way. However, Formula One will continue to broadcast the We Races One video before the races and have all the branding and stuff like that. So the drivers can do whatever they want. Um, but it's just not mandated, I guess, in some way anymore. Uh, anyways, the CEO, whose name, oh my gosh, y'all, this is so bad. Stefano Domenicali, Domenicali, sure. Half nodding. Um, he said this, we have to not, this is what I don't understand because this wasn't clear to me, but basically he's saying like, we have to not have to do politics. Don't know what that means. I think he means that they just don't want to be political. But
Yeah.
I think now it's a matter from gesture to action. Now the action is the focus on the diversity of our community. This is the first step. I think the gesture has been already important for others that believed that it was an important gesture. And continue on to say we need to respect everyone as always, but now it is time to move on and take some action. So bizarre. I don't know what any of this means. I think that, so for those who don't know, we know that everyone knows, but taking the knee was started in the United States from a great football player named Colin Kaepernick, who was then essentially blacklisted. And you could say like, oh no, it was because he wasn't good. He is a great player. It was 100% because he was protesting and people thought it was disrespectful, specifically in the United States tied to football. What I think is really interesting is that pretty much like 70 to 80% of the players are black, but the team owners are predominantly white. And it's just like this weird power dynamic. Anyways, so it's kind of stood as this like international symbol of confronting oppression wherever you are. So I think it's great that Formula One was like, yeah, you can do this before a race, but now to like not have it there and then say, we're going to do more action, even though the sport is notorious for not doing anything tied to diversity. I don't know, girl.
No, I see a lot of red flags coming up. Like
Yeah.
they're removing it, which I think that probably comes from pressure from like the race circuits, and I
The
don't know.
countries, right?
Yeah, I think it is political. So he's saying like we have to not have to do politics. Oh, it's excuse me, sir. And I get like it must be very difficult because he is like an international company trying to play the various different kind of
Exactly.
politics
Yeah.
and political leaders, but like you can be the one to take a stand though, right? Like you could they could make it known to those countries that like, no, we're going to be doing this because it's what we believe in. We racist one. Like you can't be referencing that at the same sentence as being like, well, we're not going to be mandating this anymore because there's other things we need to concentrate on. No, I mean like it took no time at all. It is a powerful message. If people want to do it, they should be allowed to. And like, don't try and say you're doing it for the greater good. Like, you have to move on and take some other action. Like, what are you going to be doing, sir? And I think the other action, and what is like you're saying this isn't important in a way?
That's the thing. So I understand if they're like, okay, we want to bring some action towards it, which is why, you know, if they announce like this is our steps to make sure the sport is more diverse. So as we know, Lewis Hamilton has this foundation that brought a bunch of the Formula One teams, also the organization, to basically disclose like what is your diversity in your teams, and let's create more opportunity for anyone else. But of course, for him, it's anyone that is Black to just join the sport in whatever way that makes sense and create a better pipeline of talent to actually go into Formula One. So I don't know, like, I just don't know what it means, because it's like, okay, but Lewis Hamilton's like leading the charge there. That's not something that Formula One itself has owned. And we haven't seen any public reports of like, these are our diversity goals. This is how we want to improve equity. There's been nothing announced. I also want to say a note on that, like Mission 44, I think is what it's called. The only team that didn't participate was RedBull.
Really?
Yeah. RedBull did not disclose anything tied to diversity. So there's that. But I agree with you. I think it's really weird, especially because I don't think we'll see any action. Like it'll be
they're
gone.
taking away the action. Like what it's totally, I don't even know. Whatever.
Yeah. Lewis, I think will still continue to kneel, and I think some of the drivers will continue to join him, but I'm just like, what?
Like we should be going the other way. Like if it wasn't mandated, they probably should make a mandated time now, but now we're going the opposite way, which is not the way we should be going.
Exactly. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, okay. Like, so I think we know why it's happening, but we don't agree with it, you guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's some other updates, I guess, from this week. Shanika brought in that, and I saw this too, Formula One will be racing in Bahrain. They signed a contract until 2036. How old are we going to be in 2036?
Caitlyn, so we're 28 now, and it's 2022.
Like,
how
like 40? Oh my god, I can't even math. Okay,
I'm going to add 14 years to right now.
43 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. What?
I just added it. So of course, you know, predictably, or from that number that Caitlyn just said, that we're going to be old as fuck. This is the longest contract with any circuit ever. The only reason why I brought the headline down is just because like my brain can't even comprehend, like, are we going to make it to 2020, like 2036? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Just gonna maybe the planet blows up before then. Seriously.
Exactly. So, you know, I admire the like Bahrain being like, we want this forever, but I'm like, are we even gonna get that far? Like, I'm not sure. We'll see.
Well, it's pretty much like a statement that like there's going to be a permanent race in Bahrain. Always expect Bahrain. It's going to be a synonymous race with F1, is what they're saying there.
Which is, you know, good. I mean, sure, why not?
Right, it's good for the country. With F1 gaining popularity, they're probably going to make some tourism money off of that.
Yeah.
So that's important for them, but I don't know. It's also like it does make it harder for the new countries to come in if they want to have a race, and
that's like the big issue, right? So there's like a push from, you know, Andretti, as we know, to have another race in the US. But even I saw a headline, I didn't write it down, but he's like, no, like having 3 races in the States is pushing it. Like we can't do that. And I would love to have something, yes, we have Formula E in Vancouver, but why can't we have Formula One in Vancouver?
Yeah. Right. Like why not? It can be
How?
an off race, right?
Yeah. So you're right. It does take away an opportunity for someone else, which
It probably ties into money though. They probably paid a shit ton of money to get that privilege. So
exactly.
we
So
know how F1 works.
the last sort of quick headline is related to Lando's contract extension. So he will be at McLaren until at least 2025 for a lot of fucking money. Do I know what that number is? No. Are we surprised, Caitlin, that he is extending his time there? I think
No, that was a given. Like he is the protege for that team. They will pay him any number to keep him there.
100%. And speaking of the number, I could not pinpoint anything. Like I saw things ranging from like 10 million a year to 20 million, but at 20 million, it's more than what Max is getting paid on his current contract. So I don't know, but he right now is in the top 3 of the most paid drivers, meaning that he's only behind, or who else runs up the top 3 is obviously Lewis and then Max. So it's not surprising, but I would love to be his friend just for extravagant birthday gifts. He got a couple zeros.
That's insane. He's what, 22 and he's getting money like that?
It's so crazy.
How is the world split up like this? Seriously, how do we get this? And I'm reading a book about like Mexican immigrants. It's like, what is happening with this world? Anyways, just I'm in a sassy mood today. I will bring up everything.
It's the distribution of wealth is not ideal.
And it's getting worse, and that's a big problem.
And yeah, it's like, okay, Lando, like take that money, I guess, but
right? Are you going to do something maybe good for the world with it?
That's exactly
you have enough money to make a difference.
Yeah, let's hope that you like take the money, but then also like start to give a lot of it away to some organizations. Just some thoughts. That's so funny that you and I are both like, so again, side tangent, but this happens to me all the time, where as soon as I hear like a great female CEO like taking her company public, so most recently I can think about where I had this like, oh, that's good but like not great, is her name's Whitney. She's the CEO of Bumble. She took Bumble public. Huge to be a woman have taking her company public. Amazing. But then they're like, she's a billionaire now. And I was like, like, do we need more billionaires? Unsure about that. So I always feel so conflicted because it's so great for Lando, but I'm also like, that's a lot of money. Like, I don't know.
Right. And honestly, I think he would have stayed for less, right? Like, I think he feels loyalty towards McLaren. So,
yeah.
Whatever. And it's also interesting because we know Daniel's expensive too. And like the cost cap does come in for the top 3 paid
people
members of the team, right?
Yeah.
So is Zach Brown just taking a
Zach Brown.
Zach might. He might be like that. He'd be like,
does he have equity in McLaren? Do we know? Who do we talk to? Who can tell us?
So.
Who can tell us?
I 10 out of 10 think so.
Because that's like the play, right? Is like, okay, you don't take a big salary, but then you have equity in the company.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's the way to do things. Why do we think like some of the CEOs, they're like, oh, I don't get big salary, just like all my peoples. And then it's like, okay.
Yeah, but you have literally all the equity that's worth billions.
And your bonuses are in the double million.
Yeah, absolutely not. We're going to dive into the car reveals after this quick ad break. This episode of Get Checkered is brought to you by Rumi. With the warmer weather comes yard work. As I mentioned, it is so warm here in Alberta right now, and lots of it. Prune your trees and shrubs, clean your eavesdrops, replace those drafty windows you noticed over the winter, or you can call Rumi to take care of all of your outdoor and indoor spring home maintenance while you fire up the barbecue and relax. Visit rumi.ca, that's RUMI.ca, or call 1-844-777-7864 and let Rumi's trusted local experts take care of your yard. So all you have to do is enjoy it.
You know what? If we ever get to the point of buying our own house, that would be very useful.
That's also another thing. It's like outsourcing things is nice because I don't know how to fix anything. I don't know how to.
A lot of effort.
It's a lot of effort. So the first car reveal we're going to talk about is RedBull, which, okay, so many opinions, but I'm going to just give you the high level, like important stuff first, and then we'll talk about our opinions. Anyways, the unveiling happened on February 9th at Milton Keynes, I think.
Yep.
Keynes, yeah. So the team has rebranded as Oracle RedBull, which you can see. I wrote signifying whatever fat check that Oracle is now cutting them. Where Honda was on the rear, just anywhere Honda is like no longer there. It's just Oracle, huge on the side. And for those who don't know, that's a software company that's based in the Valley, quite large. When we talked about billionaire people, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the Honda logo is still there. It's on the front nose, just a bit smaller. You can see the HRC. And I think this is going to kind of be confusing for people because we know that, wait a minute, I thought it was just the Red Bull powertrains, like Honda's leaving, Honda's not leaving. What's going on? So to kind of clear that up, in 2022, Honda will continue to produce, assemble, maintain, and support the engine, even though it has formally quit Formula One. So that's why the HRC is still there, because technically they're still doing stuff. Anyways,
interesting.
Caitlin, did you have a chance to look at the vehicle? What did you think?
I know, so I've been like really not on top of things this week, but saw it after the fact. Honestly, it looks good. It looks the same. You know, we said Haas looked the same. At least this one was in real life to see, which didn't need to be. We'll get there. But yeah, so it was like a real car at least. Yeah, Oracle, like I've worked with the software maybe like intermittently with jobs before. I don't know, it's the same. I'm not overwhelmed, I'm not underwhelmed like I was with Haas, maybe just because it was a feeling of Haas and having the Russian thing everywhere, but whatever, is fine. Yeah, so they're calling this one the RB18. And what I find really interesting is like Horner, like, okay, and we'll say this and then we'll get into the conversation about like why do we even fucking need these, because Horner's like the actual car they're racing, the RB18, won't, quote unquote, won't look very much like this at the car launch. And he's like, well, because like with the new regulations, like the car is going to evolve very quickly. I'm like, yeah, so why are we doing this?
And like, that's where we have a hiccup, where it's like, why the hell did you just waste everyone's time?
Right? Like money, time, effort. Why did we need this? Like, it's nice to see the car. You could have just like, I don't know, done the car. You didn't need to be you know, like F1 is a spectacle sport, so they made a spectacle out of this unnecessarily.
I completely agree, because I saw the car and I was like, this is kind of plain looking, and then didn't see Christian Horner's comments and still was like, what is going on? And then finally saw his comments where he was like, well, this is not the real car. I was like, then why are we here? Like, what are we doing here if this is not the real car?
I don't feel bad that we didn't really capture this on our socials, because really nothing happened.
It's nothing. It's like they basically just had an event where Christian talked about that not being the real car, and then Max and Checo talked about how excited they are to be back in a car. Like, it was so uneventful. I do think what's nice though, and something I didn't think about until I was like being annoyed with Christian, is that because we are heading into like the new era, remember how much the like Red Bull cars were just built for Max? Like all the other drivers had to adapt to it. I think it's great that Checo has the chance to like be in a car that's also kind of new to Max too. Like I think that the difference between the two might be a little bit less coming into the new season.
It's good that you bring up Checo, because did you see his points? Like he really wants to fight for the title this year.
Yeah, and I actually want to mention, so Nicole listened to our episode about Checo and noted that she thinks that he'll actually retire after, if
I
he
think,
gets
oh,
after his time at Red Bull, whether that's like at the end of the season or next season.
hmm,
So yeah, I think of
okay.
course he wants to challenge for that world championship, because I kind of I didn't agree with her initially, because I was like, what do you mean? Like, he has to be in the sport forever, but like he is getting older. And like, is it worth, when you're in the best car or one of the best cars, like what's the point of going backwards,
Yeah, I mean, fair. So he's
So
going to give it his all. So that's exciting. And yeah, I like that point you made, Shanika, because I hope this car is more so in the middle for both the guys to start with at least. Right?
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I just hope that we see the car soon. I don't know. I just feel like we wasted our time. And our
It
time
is
right now is valuable.
right. Anyways, yeah. So we are very much looking forward to that first race to see what it actually is going to look like. But also for the racing, I am itching for a race. So the next car launch we saw was actually from Aston Martin. This one is the AMR 22.
Yeah.
Their chief technology officer, is that what CTO is?
Yeah. Technical officer.
Technical officer Andrew Green said the huge difference in the 2022 regulations caused a massive challenge. Every section of the car is virtually new. So the philosophy for the AMR 22 is about being open-ended and giving ourselves flexibility. So kind of similar to what, in a way, Christian was saying, like the regulations are going to change everything and things are going to evolve quickly. But it was nice to see this car because there is a bit of new livery on it, right? It's got some lime green on it. I'm like, oh, I love it. It's a good contrast, like that, like
Yeah.
lovely, like I don't know. It's like a smooth forest green. I don't know what you want to call it. And then
No,
this, like,
that's what I was gonna say too. Like, it feels like it would feel nice.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
a satin
So
finish on a color. Like, yeah.
I love the color scheme. I'm a big fan. So it
I
wasn't
liked,
so hard for other teams to do, like add a
and it was
little.
a good event. Like, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but there was like TikTokers there. There was a good amount of
Mhm.
people there. It actually like brought some energy, and I think was the first unveiling this season where I was like, oh my gosh, like this feels real. Like this reveal feels like we're seeing something
Well,
real.
and like, because I saw some clips of like Vettel and Stroll actually seeing it too, and they're like looking around, checking the car. I'm like, this is good. I think
Yeah.
to see that perspective too. Vettel was quoted to say it was too early to speculate where he thinks Aston Martin would stack up in the competition this year, but like fair. We'll see. Let the racing talk for itself. He said, quote, I think from a driving point of view, the main challenge will be adapting to these cars. They feel a bit different driving in the simulator, and I think it will be different again driving in real life. So exciting.
Like super
That'll being the very experienced, very amazing man.
Yeah, it was honestly like my favorite one so far, just because it was a real car, like a real event. And
Something
yes,
worth seeing.
yeah, and even though he was like, the chief technical officer was like, things are going to change, they still didn't frame it as like, oh, this isn't the real car.
Yeah, like Christian Horner, just why do you say things the way you say things? How do you get through life to get here? And you say things like the way they, like, how do you do?
Okay,
Whatever.
guy. Oh my gosh. It was interesting though to see like both Lance and Seb back on the interview circuit, because we haven't seen or heard from any of these folks really through their break, which doesn't feel like a very long break, by the way. It is just,
It's flying by.
it flies by, and then they're training again. I feel like they have 1 month where they have fun, and then they start training a little bit, and then it starts to get more intense. But I thought it was interesting because they were, of course, asked about Abu Dhabi, and Seb said, I don't know what his meaning Michael Massey's future is, but I hope he sticks around because I think he overall did a very, very good job. There's a lot of controversy for the last race, but there shouldn't be. If you look at the bigger picture, he's done very well. Okay. Alternatively, Lance, his clip went viral, which I think is so great because I think everyone, maybe we don't give Lance enough credit where credit's due because he just has a rich dad. The thing is, though, he has still driven consistently enough to like not be in the bottom like someone else who has a rich dad. So, you know what I mean? But this video I saw all over on Twitter and I was like, oh shit. So he said, consistency in our sport is not our strongest point. The rules are the rules, and we can't be changing or modifying rules for entertainment. The rules are the rules. When there's a safety car, lapped cars get to overtake the safety car, and then we go racing. There's nothing that says half the cars can overtake and half the cars have to stay behind, and then we'll go racing. My opinion is that it's ridiculous that we didn't go back racing the way that we should have gone back. You can't change the rules halfway through at the end of a race until half the cars they can overtake.
Yeah, and like Lance was what I remember. Lance was actually like one of the people that was affected by this decision, and he was quite upset by it at the time too. So I'm not surprised this is his take. Seb's take is interesting. You know, he does have a lot of experience and knowledge, so it's interesting to hear that side of it as well. Because honestly, I think Shanika, Courtney, and we're all very much on the like, what the fuck was that side?
Yeah, we're still not over it. The one thing that they both agreed on, though, is that entertainment is starting to be put ahead of the actual like rules around racing, and that
Which
they did not do that.
Yeah, no, I think for a sport, if you want to keep respect in the sport, you make it for like about the sport rather than for the entertainment in a way. Like you can do things for the spectators. You totally can. That's what the Olympics are all about. Hello, I was a spectator at the Olympics and they are fun. And they do a lot of stuff for the spectators, but they keep the sport as the sport is meant to be too. And we're watching that sport for it to be the sport we're wanting.
Exactly. So Caitlin, you're actually spot on, because I think we talked about this so many times, but just the for those who know, like Lance wasn't allowed to pass or overtake. And we always talk about just like Lewis and Max and what happened there. And I think we touched on a few episodes though that the cars that couldn't overtake also lost opportunity to actually race and potentially get more points to help their team either like extend the lead or help themselves in the drivers championship, like whatever that is. And that stuff's important too. So as much as, you know, Lewis and Max, we talk about them all the time, there were a bunch of other people that got screwed as well.
Yep, Lance being one of them, and that's why he's pissed. And I get it. I get it.
And especially when there's nothing coming of it yet. We still have no idea how this is going to be handled.
Right. And does Seb like Seb and Lewis, I know, had a bigger rivalry before. I don't know if it's still like in their hearts a little bit. So I wonder if Seb is on it. This is complete speculation, you guys.
Okay, but I think it's worth speculating because for some reason Sebastian Vettel, and I think it's like the connection that he has to Michael Schumacher, but Sebastian is all about like, we have to keep Michael Schumacher's legacy intact, and that Michael Schumacher's legacy is how many wins he's had. But the thing is, Michael Schumacher himself has said, you know, when he was racing and was more able, he said that all of these like world records and stuff need to be broken. Like they have to be broken. So he said it, but I think it's really weird how much like some of these people are like, no, we need to keep Schumacher's like thing alive. And it's like Schumacher's legacy is going to be in the sport regardless if someone else comes along and like has 10 world championships. Like, you know what I mean? That person will have 10 world championships because Michael Schumacher existed.
Push the boundaries to start with.
Yeah. So it's like the most bizarre thing. So that's why I'm like, yeah, we're speculating, but like, I just think it's weird as hell.
It needed to be noted on this podcast.
Exactly. But I don't know why everyone is obsessed with that, because I don't get it. The next car unveiling, which Courtney, I had like put this aside for her, but she has internet issues. So I guess I'll have to just do like Lando and the McLaren boys justice. I'm sure I'll be okay. They revealed it on February 11th at the McLaren Technology Center in Woking. I wrote that it was good to see the boys back because I feel like Mercedes' social, they started introducing George like a lot earlier.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of content. But then for McLaren, I felt like it was very like recycled stuff up until like the last 2 weeks or so, where it's been like a lot about the drivers, unveiling cars, stuff like that. So it's just good to see them like healthy and doing well. The new car is called the MCL 36. And there's this huge quote from Andreas Seidel. So give me a second.
I love Andreas.
I know we like him. That's why I was like, this is really long, but you know what? We like him. He said, our objective for this season is clear and consistent with that of previous years. We want to further close the gap to the front of the pack. At the same time, we know and respect the tough competition we'll face and have a realistic view of where we are on our journey. We're working through a package of key infrastructure investments, which will provide us with the tools required to compete at the top of our sport when they come online. So this is something that I think like alludes to something that was said at the end of the season, which is like McLaren is doing a lot better, but in terms of infrastructure, they actually don't have a ton. So they're building all of it right now. And as much as we'd like to see like McLaren back on the podium, competing against Mercedes and Red Bull, like they've even acknowledged that they're just not there because they just don't have as much support built yet. So I don't know. I think it's like exciting. The
He is such a Capricorn though. Like just look at those keywords in there. You need a clear, consistent, realistic view. Key
Oh my gosh.
infrastructure investments. I'm like, yes, you are a Capricorn, sir.
Andreas Seidel.
Yeah.
Just very consistent, persistent, that kind of stuff. The MCL 36 look has taken inspiration from the McLaren's retro Gulf oil livery from Monaco last year, and then combined it with the Flora Papaya. Okay, their lovely color with a lighter blue. Also at this launch, which is like a bit more of a real launch, they launched their IndyCar and Extreme E vehicles as well, which they're the Extreme E, by the way, they're debuting later this year, as well as their esports livery. So they just kind of like launched everything at the same time. And there's some really cool photos actually. If you even do a quick Google search of all three vehicles, kind of like next to each other. And it's like, whoa, this is power, baby. This is a lot of stuff.
No, I'm taking a look at the car right now. I like it.
I do like the blue. I'm like, I think it like breaks things up a little bit. It's a bit more eye-catching.
Mhm.
But the thing that like caught me off guard was the giant velo on the side of the car. It's just like, it's so big. And I had no idea what this company is. So I looked it up. Velo is a nicotine pouch brand. I don't know
What?
Thank you, right?
Oh,
So you can't have like Marlboro promoting things. Like, why are we? I don't know. Anyways, so I don't know what a nicotine pouch is, TBH. I'm like, we don't know that. But McLaren has worked with them before. In 2021, they teamed up with Velo to launch the 4-part Velo E series that had celebrities going head to head against, they said internet sensations in the article I read, but like creators, so like YouTubers, TikTokers, stuff like that. I don't know.
in what regard? Like racing or?
Yeah, it was like e-racing online. Yeah. And then I found a really fun fact, which is why I'm like, okay, the bar people was so high in the 1990s, and then we just let them fall. So we need to hold all of these organizations accountable. But in 1997, the Spice Girls actually helped launch the McLaren MP412, which was like a Formula One car in 1997. And I'm like, you had the Spice Girls?
Yeah,
why did they not have them again? Like, come on.
Was Jerry married to, and I refer to her like on a first name basis because we're friends, but Ginger Spice, did she meet Christian before or after that?
She met him after, because they actually got like married later in life, which, this is a side tangent. I loved seeing that, because Jerry getting married later in life and having kids later in life, like we need to normalize that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Also, like with Rihanna being like 34 and pregnant.
Oh,
I'm like,
yes, that's amazing.
A dream.
Good on you, Rihanna.
Like, seriously.
She waited it out for a good guy.
Yeah.
She's built her own empire. She's absolute queen. And she's ready
Exactly.
for her family now. And I'm like, yes, yes, do it at your own pace.
Exactly. So, Caitlin, what did you think of the car?
Okay, so I do, yeah, it's okay. I like it. I don't know. It's like it's a good contrast. I do see, yeah, yeah, I don't know. People were really wanting them to like come out with the Gulf livery as like the full-time livery. And I'm like, I didn't like it that much. It was just different, I think, is why people liked it as much. But I think it's still catchy, still bright and vibrant.
Yeah. The boys looked happy, so I think that's like all that matters.
Yeah.
Daniel Ricciardo also unveiled his new helmet, and like
Yeah.
I was like,
What do you think
okay,
of it?
is this a bigger deal and we're just not following Caitlin? Because like I'm like, okay, like great, like your helmet. Like I don't know how I'm supposed to what I'm supposed to do with
Well,
that
like
information.
it's almost at the point where like all these drivers were having different helmets throughout the season. So it's like,
Exactly.
okay. And also this one, I just don't like it as much. But to each their own.
So if we could round up the last unveilings that we've had so far, we also, sorry, I should mention, we did get an update from Alpine that BWT, right?
Oh yes.
They are sponsoring Alpine now, which means that the pink will be there. They did,
Likely. And we are hoping for it to
we're
be there.
hoping.
Ecto Pink, bring it back.
So yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. But if that's an opportunity for the Pepto Bismol pink to not go away. Their unveiling is later this month, I believe, actually. So we've now seen the Haas rendering, the Red Bull, not really the Red Bull car, the Aston Martin, still probably not going to be the end car, but like felt more of an event. And we've now seen the McLaren like launch all of its cars for all of its motorsport things. Do you have any favorites design wise?
For me, I think seeing that Aston Martin one, I'm a fan. The color scheme. What about you?
For me, it was the Aston Martin one again, but I think it's just because it felt like a real thing. And then it was also weird though, comparing the Aston Martin, like the over top shot to the Haas, because the vehicles look so different. And I'm like, I don't know if that's because remember how I said the Haas looked kind of like thick with like five C's, like
Thick.
they just look so different. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but that's just so weird. So Aston Martin right now is my favorite. I did take a quick look at the schedule. So like I said, there's a ton coming up, but of course the last team to unveil will be Mercedes. So you got
And
a
I'm
little bit of
excited to
time.
see like if they do an event, if Hamilton speaks at all. Right?
Yeah, because we still haven't heard from him as much as we've seen him like post on social, which is actually technically hearing from him. Um, that's pretty much it. And I actually in the article where the CEO was talking about the that I mentioned earlier on what was it? About drivers no longer being mandated to take any, I don't know, whatever, this guy. The CEO said he did see Lewis and Lewis looks top form, like really focused on this year. So there's that. But yeah, I'm excited.
I'm actually seeing, I think I'm seeing what you were talking about, like the aerial difference between the cars so far.
Yeah.
It
What do
is
you think?
something.
Yeah.
They are quite different. Interesting.
They are quite different. See it?
Yeah.
Like I feel like the Aston Martin from the aerial shot looks more like what I was expecting versus the Haas. It looks nothing like what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Which I like, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, right? Like who knows? Would Haas be the one that engineered their car so well that like
All right.
they end up
It's kind of fun being able to see this though, because it's like all the interpretations and creative ways of fitting the new regulations.
exactly. And then of course, like as the season goes on and changes are made, I feel like the cars end up looking more and more like each other. So
Yeah.
Haas is probably going to end up looking like everybody else's soon. Just not there yet, though.
Well, Haas had the most time in the wind tunnel, didn't they? Because they came in last in the constructors, I
Yeah,
thought.
and they also had the most. I mean, they don't have a lot of money in general, but they also didn't put any money into the 2021 car. right? They were
Because
like,
they were saving it for this one.
yeah. So I don't know. It was a rendering. Who knows? Maybe they're gonna show up to practice or whatever preseason testing with like an amazing car.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. I'm just
Someone is probably putting a bet down there that Haas is going to win the championship, and the odds are like a billion to one, and they're just going to make it rich.
Oh my gosh. Oh, and there was another sort of update on the Ferrari one. They're going to be releasing the car online. So they've been posting a lot about it. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but they kind of announced like their color scheme through what Carlos and Charles was wearing, which is like the normal Ferrari red, but then with this like black stripe down the middle of their shirts, like in the middle of their shirts, not down the middle. I don't like it.
I don't know. I thought they had something good going, and it's just like, this is not what.
I think when you're Ferrari red, you just got to keep it classic. Like, I don't think you need to do anything, right?
Yeah. It's getting messy. I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's interesting though. I brought up the picture, so it's like, because Carlos and Charles, they each have a different color stripe on them underneath the black stripe. Which I'm like, right? Is that a thing for the drivers now? They're just gonna have their own color, but
yeah, I have no idea. No idea. None.
Well, like if you have a bad design one year, just make it up the next year. Fine. That's fine.
Okay, friends. I think that's it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We will be back in the following weeks. Actually, kind of all over the place. So Caitlyn's going on like a couple trips coming up here. I'm also going to be away for a couple weekends, so we're gonna have to figure something out in terms of scheduling.
Creative.
Yeah,
so
you'll still get episodes
content out to you.
Yeah, you'll still get episodes. We'll. This is just me thinking out loud, but it may not be all three of us consistently. That'll be it.
But we will make it to the first race, and it will be all three of us determined to watch it.
Exactly. So follow us on Get Checkered on Instagram, Twitter, and on TikTok, so you can also fight men who are trying to gatekeep the sport with us there.
Join in the fun.
And also review us on Apple Podcasts, and Spotify actually has reviews too. So if you do that, it just makes it easier for people to find us. It pushes us up in the rankings and every algorithm in the world. And other than that, I will see you next week.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you again soon. In the meantime, stay checkered as always.
Okay, bye everyone.
Talk to you later. Bye.